Since taking office in January, Prime Minister Hassan Diab's government has been working on a plan to save Lebanon's economy. That plan is now ready. The state is close to bankruptcy, and Lebanon defaulted on its debt for the first time. After much reluctance, the government intends to seek financial assistance from the International Monetary Fund.
With this plan as a stepping stone, we can build our future. We will continue with our request to the IMF and will engage seriously with our creditors. As a result, we will reduce the burden of debt on the shoulders of our citizens.
The economic hardship has been mounting. Anger spilled onto the streets and it turned violent. The national currency, the pound, lost more than 60% of its value in recent weeks.
Good, how about you?
Stay dry.
Al Jazeera's investigative unit has obtained exclusive video revealing a backlog of goods at China's biggest export hub. Well, that's causing a delay in the supply of medical equipment for healthcare workers around the world. Long queues of trucks loaded with cargo at Shanghai airport are waiting to unload at customs, and hundreds of boxes are piling up in warehouses. China produces nearly half the world's supply of protective medical equipment, notably to the US and Europe. But concerns are growing. Its quality control rules on exporting cargo is hampering efforts to meet demand for personal protective equipment.
Mayor Bill de Blasio today condemning a Brooklyn funeral home for storing bodies in trucks. Nate Rogers spoke to a funeral director about ethical responsibilities during the coronavirus crisis.
Bill, residents in Flattens, Brooklyn alerted police after a strong odor from these U-Haul trucks became overwhelming. Now, if you drove down Utica Avenue today, this was the bizarre scene outside Andrew Klecki Funeral Home. Yesterday, police say dozens of bodies were being stored in these unrefrigerated trucks. The funeral home owner reportedly said his freezers went out. The state has now sent a refrigerated truck for proper storage.
The no-frills airline Ryanair has announced that it's planning to cut a staggering 3,000 jobs. That's 15% of its total staff. This as the airline grapples with a massive drop in passenger numbers.
As you mentioned, Tom, 3,000 jobs. Most of those jobs that could be lost are pilots and cabin crew jobs. Also, Ryanair announcing that remaining staff could see pay cuts of up to 20% over the year. All this coming amid a really steep drop in demand. Ryanair also announcing that it expected to operate less than 1% of its flights in both May and June. As you mentioned, this mirroring troubles that we've seen really across the airline sector. Last week, the International Air Transport Association, a trade association of airlines, saying that lost revenue in Europe could reach 80 billion euros over the year.
With nearly 2,000 infections in the last 24 hours, India has witnessed its highest single-day spike in the number of COVID-19 cases. The country reported 73 new deaths, taking the overall toll to 1,147. The total number of infected cases has surpassed 35,000. The central government of India has released the full list of red, orange and green zones in the country as it plans a lockdown exit after the 3rd of May. The Health Ministry of India has divided 733 districts across India into red, orange and green zones depending on the severity of the outbreak.
병원 일명, 정상 6명은 다른 병원 1명, 참 좋은 병원 2명, 파티마 병원 1명이 되겠습니다. 현재 참고로 공사자는
Regional governments in Belgium have accused France of not properly warning them of a leak at a sugar beet refinery which has killed numerous fish in a river. The Belgian region of Wallonia has said that tons of fish were killed by pollution that flowed across the border from France. Wallonia, which is the French-speaking region of southern Belgium, adjoins the border with France. They even accused the French authorities of being too slow to issue a warning. However, the French company has said there was no proven link between the dead fish in Belgium and the leak at its facility. French sugar maker Thériault said that a leak was found on the 9th of April. It was then repaired on the 10th of April and that the situation was back to normal by the 13th of April on the French side of the river.
In the Arctic, Sky News filmed plastic floating in front of a glacier. In the Antarctic, we were with scientists as they filtered it from seawater thousands of miles from the nearest city. But 99% of ocean plastic is beyond the reach of our cameras in the deep sea. And scientists have now found the highest level of microplastics ever recorded. 1.9 million pieces, some smaller than a millimetre, covering 1 square metre of the seabed off the west coast of Italy.
The results were quite shocking to us. So we found incredibly high levels of plastics on the seafloor, and these were mostly microfibres. And these fibres come from textiles, so when you wash your clothes, these fibres pass through wastewater treatment plants into rivers. They're flushed out to the sea, where they can sink to the bottom of the sea.
Its bon voyage to the U.S. Navy hospital ship Comfort, which sailed out of New York Harbor today, saluted by a flotilla of boats. Fortunately, the massive hospital ship never came close to being full, treating only 182 patients of its 1,000-bed capacity. All that bad press the vice president got for not wearing a mask the other day at the Mayo Clinic must have had an impact. Today, Mike Pence wore one for a tour of a GM plant. His wife Karen claims the Mayo Clinic uproar was just a misunderstanding.
It was actually after he left Mayo Clinic that he found out that they had a policy of asking everyone to wear a mask.